Hello everyone and welcome to third round of the event, and this time we'll be playing against Steel Phalanx, which is absolutely the most dreadful matchup for vHaqq Islam as far as I can tell from what I read in the Discord, and I really hope you will enjoy this battle report, as this will be one of the two Steel Phalanx games I had pleasure to play, and I'm going to show you how to dismantle Steel Phalanx without using guided. And yes, you heard it correctly, we'll be doing this without guided. And as a meme, just for the start, they said it could not be done, because how can you beat Steel Phalanx without guided? But the thing is, I've been playing without guided all of my life, and I had played against Steel Phalanx with Panoceania, and honestly speaking, it's not that much more difficult with vHaqq Islam, albeit it's some situations it's more difficult because you have less guns to put Atalanta down, but at the same time you have so many templates, Berserk, and all of the close combat goodness that I'm usually not used to having in, for example, NCA or Varuna, and it's still doable, right? So just follow with me through, guys. So this is the list we'll be playing against the Steel Phalanx, the dreadful Steel Phalanx, and I already played it in round 2, and this will be released while we'll be playing for the end of the tournament, so in the next 2 games as well, so I'm going to be really quickly about it. So we have Gulam Decoy, and we have the Gulam Doctor, the 3 guys. We have Thanos for our order, and those are basically self-explanatory. Then we have 2 bikers, Zuleika, and then we have the Zamira. So both bikers are, well, good stuff. I wanted to try out all of this vHaqq Islam good stuff, so this is mainly something that you might be already familiar, right? Azrael, good HMG gun, and so I'm just going to be focusing on stuff that I added to the list that's not out of the ordinary. So Raggy Hacker, mostly because of the missions in Unmasking Exclusion Zone, in Evacuation Exclusion Zone, in Countermeasures Exclusion Zone, and Raggy is really good in all 3 of the missions, and he can basically pull the game from under your opponent's nose. He can snatch the game a lot of times by himself, so even in Evacuation he's really good to have it. Then we'll have Diliberto, the good old Diliberto. We have Barret, just 1 Barret hacker, just to make both the Rafiku and the Thanos better at, you know, more valuable, right, as the repeaters. So I don't really expect to throw any pitchers or hack, but it's good to have a hacker nevertheless, right? And now, very importantly, we have Mukhtar that this game will rely on, because he's the MSV2 and a good gunfighter that can take on the Mimetism 6 Steel Phalanx characters. And very importantly, we have Armand Lemuet. Armand Lemuet, I think, is the secret sauce that makes this list very, well, not very good, but okay into Steel Phalanx, because Armand can outrange Phoenix and can reliably hit him and put him basically either dead or guts, and he has Mimetism -6, which makes him okay-ish in a reactive turn. He's like both active and reactive turn good, and like now for only active turn good, right? And Armand, very importantly, has a template, Natural Number Warrior and 2 wounds, which is very important for, well, keeping himself alive mostly, and for deployment also is important. Al-Jabel, he's basically a gamble core character. You can fork Steel Phalanx character and try to flamethrower them. So the pieces that will be most useful against Steel Phalanx in this matchup will be Jabel, Armand, Zuleika, Zamira, right? Those 4, and well, Mukhtar, but Mukhtar low damage basically. So those 5 pieces are very important against Steel Phalanx. Everything else is basically worthless. Azrael, he's not gonna do anything against Steel Phalanx. And here we're playing against Steel Phalanx list. This might not be the best of the Steel Phalanx list, but nevertheless we have the key fire team of Phoenix, Akmon, Macaon, and Eudoros. These 4 characters, self-explanatory, tactical awareness, NCO, Doctor, Engineer, Phoenix, all of bullshit in one place. We have the Atalanta, total reaction version, so the bullshit one, and 3 orders just to support her. And then we have something that's important. We have Myrmidon, only for the sole existence of this Myrmidon is to put smoke for the Atalanta. I'm not 100% sure that he was in this group, not in the other one, but nevertheless the Myrmidon is there to throw smoke for the Atalanta, so she can do stuff in the active turn. Then we finally have a Tyreos hacker. I'm not really sure why the Tyreos hacker is there, but nevertheless he's still a hacker, and he's forward deployed hacker, most importantly. And yeah, I guess he does missions good. About it, I'm not really convinced about the rest. He could be anyone else basically. But importantly, we have Pentazilea. Pentazilea will be huge star player for the Evacuation, and Pentazilea is basically my opponent's win condition, which will make this game like basically play around. This is very important that Fantasy is the win condition of my opponent. Okay, so we're playing 12-inch classical 12-inch deployment zone. So I win the lieutenant role. I decide to go first just because, well, Haqq Islam Fidei, I want to go first, basically kill as much stuff as possible. So we deploy the Azrael here with the Nazmat supporting it. We have the Dailami infiltrated forward. So remember, there's an exclusion zone, right? So Buried Hacker projects an area around this console just to throw some spotlights, because nothing in Steel Phalanx is hackable as far as I can tell outside of the Ajax. Here's the Doctor, my lieutenant, my decoy, flash pulse, again prone, very importantly, because the flash pulse won't stop the enemy. Well, basically will be just shot off the board. So I want to project the hacking area around it. Then importantly, we have the Mukhtar and we have the Rafik ready to sprint and get some objectives done. Then we have the mine from the Liberto and the Liberto itself covering one of my HVTs. One HVT is here and the other HVT is there. So again, this Dailami protects this area, this Liberto protects this area. So at least I can like deal a wound to a Steel Phalanx character. And very importantly, I expect my opponent's Phoenix to be either here, 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 or here, in one of those three locations. So I already want to set up myself in a way that I can deal with Phoenix and with Lemuet. So the Doctor is here, so I can support Lemuet here. The Palbot is here, so I can support Lemuet being either here, here, or somewhere on the ground, right? So I'm leaving this area open, leaving this area behind, because like there is no fire lane here, and if I remember, there's like no fire lane here. So this position would be really, well, not really great for Lemuet, right? So already I'm setting up the Doctor ready to support Lemuet, because Lemuet has to take care of the Phoenix, right? No one else can do this but Lemuet. It's all about him, and Lemuet is basically my win condition. I need to kill Atalanta with someone, not Lemuet, and Lemuet can take on any other Steel Phalanx character as long as he can outrange them. So let's just get into the opponent's deployment zone, and like, sorry, this is the side view basically. So the biker is there, and the other biker is there, right? So evacuation, right? A lot of orders. Unfortunately, those bikes are not specialists. So the idea is that this bike picks up a specialist. The bike picks up a civilian and then just goes back to the console. Same with the other guy. And this Buried is ready to jump down, get the civilian from the biker, and just send them. That's basically the idea behind this mission. And then the vHaqq can basically jump on top of HVT and use enemy console to evacuate. So this is the idea for my game plan, but I'm only going to be starting and working it in turn 2, because turn 1, remember, is all about killing. So now with my opponent deployed his stuff, there's the Worker, there's a flash pulse bot, and yeah, first things first, I'm never a fan of deploying flash pulse bots and workers like that. This is basically free kills for your opponent. They absolutely accomplish nothing, because there's no way they will ever hit anything outside of their good range. And this is basically wasting 2 or 3 orders while sacrificing a model. I'm really not a fan of this. I'm much more fan of just putting your flash pulse prone and projecting the hacking area than just leaving them to die. It's better to not die than to waste 1 order, right? So this is my idea. Again, this is the Myrmidon, ready to support the Atalanta. So my understanding is that my opponent thinks that the Myrmidon will throw a smoke in reactive turn for the Atalanta, and Atalanta will, well, no, become invincible. But this is a gimmick that will only work out against non-experienced opponents, which unfortunately I am not one of. There's the Tyros hacker, and then there is the Eudoros, if I remember, there is the Macaon, and there is the Akman, and the Phoenix standing ready to fight the world. So remember, I already thought that the Phoenix can be here. So this basically means that our Lemuet has to go here to take this fight outside of 32 inches range. Very important, the Atalanta is not deployed as a reserve. The reason for that is that in my opponent's mind, the Pentazilea is his win condition, rightfully so, in evacuation. So he wants to reserve draw Pentazilea to avoid her being shanked by the Fidei. So my opponent would rather lose Atalanta than the Pentazilea. Personally, I'm really not a fan of this idea. The reason for that is that I would very much kill Pentazilea. That's very welcome for me. I would very gladly kill Pentazilea with my Fidei, putting the stop to my opponent's game, which would make him spend a lot more orders gaining civilians. But at the same time, Atalanta can basically stop me from playing the game whatsoever. So this is the reason, right? Pentazilea can make my opponent win the game, but he can win the game with just one civilian. If I cannot play the game because of the Atalanta, then my opponent can just, you know, win the game by one civilian. So that's my idea. I would rather deploy Atalanta and sacrifice Pentazilea than the other way around. Although I'm glad that my opponent didn't do it this way. So obviously Al Jabel deployed right outside of 12 inch next to the Pentazilea. Lemuet will be deployed actually here. This is outside of 32, so this is more than 32. I do some quick math, but this is outside of 32. And yeah, we're ready to get started. The Pentazilea ends up here behind these containers. So, turn 1, very quickly. The Pentazilea will end up here. So, we start. He casts the orders from group 1, I think. So, Jabel basically prones, crawls, moves into base to base, deletes Atalanta in one order, gets spotlit in the process by the Tyrells, right? Then, Lemuet stands up, takes the fight against the Phoenix. I hit him once, he goes down with the gas roll, so that's fine. Phoenix is basically out of the question, and now it's basically all about killing. Then the Lemuet spends next order shooting at this flash push bot, deletes it, spends order shoots this flash push bot, tries to shoot the worker, but basically just bounces off the worker. Worker tanks the double action round and just stands there with a whip roll, and at this point Lemuet runs out of orders. So we kill this guy, this guy, this guy. Then our Mukhtar opens up and starts running this way. Finds an angle against the Myrmidon, which is very important that I want to kill the Myrmidon to prevent any smoke and, well, basically protect my Jabel. Kill the Myrmidon and then move myself behind the building, which then allows the Lemuet, the Jabel, to stand up, shoot the Tyrells with his shotgun. I tank the SMG shot, kill the Tyrells, go prone with their guts roll. Very clean turn. We managed to kill 5 orders from my opponents, and that's very good for the Alpha Strike against Steel Phalanx, because remember they are, well, 5 orders is still 5 orders, right, nevertheless. And very importantly, this is where I make, I guess you could say a mistake, because in my idea, once the Phoenix stands up, and I have multi-spectral visor here, I can fork him with both the Mukhtar and the Jabel, the Lemuet, I constantly mess this up. And Phoenix has to fight against both the Mukhtar and the Lemuet. So I end up suppressing with the Mukhtar there. But this is a mistake, because I forget, for some odd reason, that Steel Phalanx has Eclipse grenades, not smoke grenades, and I basically brain lag and leave my Mukhtar out there. So again, close-up photo of the Jabel shanking the Atalanta. So my opponent stands his turn, there's the Mukhtar. And very quickly, Macaon moves up here. It costs him, I guess, 2 orders, which is, okay. He puts Eclipse in front of the Lemuet, right, so blocks this line of fire. Then the Phoenix stands up, takes the fight against the Mukhtar. We both 3-on-7s, and versus 3-on-7s, so it's basically a dice-off. But Phoenix breaks one through my suppression and wounds my Mukhtar. Luckily, I survive the continuous damage, and I'm able to get away. This leaves Pentazilea with like 5 or 6 orders. So Pentazilea basically goes around here, grabs this HVT, moves to this console, evacuates this guy, and then basically makes a run for the other HVT. At that point, I reveal the Liberto, only just to prevent her from moving another time. Pentazilea takes the fight against the Liberto, hits me, but I survive, and this leaves the Pentazilea here with like 2 orders, which means that she could go for this HVT, evacuate, but she probably would not reach the console with the Liberty shooting at her. And at the very worst, at the very best, she would basically live here, and this would spell the end of her, which would prevent my opponent from ever scoring more than 2. So my opponent promptly gets her back to this position with an HVT lead. So very cleanly, and here's what I think my opponent should have done with the NCO and tactical awareness, or does that, well, tactical awareness and NCO. So what he should have done is basically maneuver this Eudoros to this position to like prevent this line of fire and cover this area, and then I would stand up this Akmon basically to shut off this area. The Phoenix is left standing, which is fine, but everyone else in the fire team is not. This means that Phoenix is the one and only reactive piece that my opponent has to control the board. So this is Pentazilea, yeah, okay. So I open up with the Lemuet. Lemuet takes the fight against the Phoenix again. I again hit him, he tanks, goes prone, that's fine. If the Phoenix is out of the question, out of the picture, that's good for me. Then the Azrael starts shooting at the worker, deletes him in one go, and we need to have a plan for the mission. So we have the the Berserker one, the Berserker girl, basically maneuver all the way here, pick up the HVT. That's well, sorry, the HVT, so that HVT. So she goes there, picks this HVT up, and travels all the way here. At this point, again, because Eudoros was not there, this is sorry, this is one picture ahead, but basically because Eudoros was not there at this point in time, I was able to move this way, grab one HVT along the way, then I drop the vHaqq hacker next to the enemy HVT, pick him up, right, so vHaqq is there, biker is there, and then vHaqq moves to this console, along the way picks up the HVT from the biker, because you can have two at the same time, and basically spends 2 short skills to evacuate one HVT and one civilian and send them into space, right? So one HVT, one civilian. This makes the fire team go. Also, yeah, the Eudoros was actually there, and Zamira put smoke there. Yeah, sorry. So Zamira put smoke. This guy evacuates 2 points, so 2 HVTs. And then we make very crucial play, which is Zuleika running into the smoke, running outside of the smoke. My opponent, instead of YOLOing, well, it's basically her against the Maceon, because the Eudoros is cut off, basically. So it's her against the Maceon. And my opponent's basically, right, so there's the Maceon, there is the Zamira. It's 1v1. My opponent, instead of templating Zamira, which he should, he dodges to save himself from the shotgun. I shoot him, but I failed to land any hits. And then I spend the last remaining order to basically berserk into Maceon. I do a wound and isolate him, and she dies, of course. This is very important because I put my opponent in loss of lieutenant with a berserk, which is unavoidable. It doesn't really matter how good the Maceon is in close combat, how good he is, if I can just, you know, berserk him with a biker and kill him. So yeah, this is very good for us. We put our opponent into low, we managed to evacuate with 2 HVTs, and we're ahead on attrition. So my opponent lost of lieutenant, he activates the Maceon with his irregular order. No, sorry, he tries to reset, yes, he tries to reset with the Maceon, fails. Then the Eudoros basically moves out here because stealth, he double moves, kills this vHaqq. It's actually a theoretical proxy because vHaqq dropped off and broke his wings. So I replaced the miniature just to keep the game going. So he kills the vHaqq, and he's left there because runs out of orders and command tokens. Then basically the Phoenix, if I remember, just stands up menacingly, and Pentazilla moves all this way here to get closer to the objectives. And that's it, that's all for my opponent's turn 2, because he's in lost lieutenant thanks to the sacrifice of a biker. Okay. So, my last turn 3, we need to basically do stuff. So, first of all, the Mukhtar peeks around here, engages Eudoros. Eudoros tries to smoke himself, but he's out of cover. Mukhtar just basically shreds him, puts him unconscious, and the Mukhtar just moves the other way around. And then the remaining orders are basically done on the mission. Barry jumps off, moves here, takes the HVT, goes back, evacuates another civilian. So at this point it's free, so 2 civilians, 1 HVT. And that's basically all she wrote, because I don't have enough orders to get this HVT and back. So what I do end up instead is I prepare myself for the first and final turn with my opponent, which again is taking the fight with Lemuet against Phoenix, again putting him guts rolling down. He's basically unkillable at this point in time, and I mess up the order, yeah, because obviously Lemuet shoots first and then the Mukhtar kills the Eudoros, because otherwise it would be stupid. Liberto moves around, puts another mine just to prevent this HVT from being stolen. Mukhtar is left here, and I managed to move this Dailami to secure HVT, the last and remaining HVT. And yeah, the doctor basically moves forward. Everyone just moves to get as many long range whatever arrows against Pentazilla, because it's all about Pentazilla. Oops, sorry. And it's basically the remaining turn for the Pentazilla. Pentazilla just moves out here and then starts approaching me. I have like a shotgun, I have a shot from the pistol, but it's out of range. The Liberto shotguns her, Mukhtar templates her. Al-Jabel, which is actually here, manages to also template her, but she survives. And then she goes around here, takes 2 more templates, tries to get to HVT, do some stuff, and basically she dies in a blaze of glory between all of my arrows. At this point, my opponent basically calls the game, as he has Akmon, Macaon, Phoenix, and I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that's about it. Phoenix ended up not dying over the entirety of the game, even though I hit him a couple of times. Oh yeah, sorry, the Phoenix stands up actually, tanks another shot from Nemuet, discovers shoots because this Dynami, preventing me from getting secure HVT, which means that I don't have a full win, only 4 objective points. So this basically means that this is like a 4-1 question mark. Yeah, it's something like that. Basically, it's Haqq Islam. So again, really quickly, what ended up happening is my opponents made one mistake of not leaving Atalanta as a reserve. I think she always should be as a reserve against the impersonator, but at the same time, I could probably still get to her. So Pentazilla surviving is also very important, because Pentazilla did a lot of work and basically in this game. But very importantly, I think what my opponent should have done is left his fire team to arrow. Eudoros arrow here, Akmon arrow here. Because without Lemuet and without Azrael, well, Azrael against Eudoros is shitty, but without those two pieces, I basically won't be able to shred through him, right? And the hacker, the Ragic hacker, would have a lot more troubles doing all of the stuff he did if the Eudoros was just watching him from the get-go. So this is, I think, what my opponent made a mistake, and what really played is Lemuet, then the Mukhtar, which is behind this building, and Al Jabal. Those 3 pieces basically dismantle Steel Phalanx, and again, yeah, the biker girl, right, the Berserk girl. The Berserk into Macaon was what sealed the game, because I had 3 times, my opponent had 2. So everyone, thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned how you could deal with Steel Phalanx, and be mindful that this might not work 100% of the time, but nevertheless, it's still an option without a guide. I hope you enjoyed and have a good day, and bye.